All right, now I'm working on the power steering for the LS430. There's a little slop in the steering wheel. It's bugging the crap out of me. So here's the steering rack. And here's where this here, I took this apart. All is here is a bolt holding in ball bearings. And then I believe this is to tighten the lash between the pinion and the gear, between the actual rack. So the pinion comes in here, the rack is the entire length, and then this pushes on the pinion into the rack. So what that looks like is this piece sits on the pinion like this, and then this spring pushes down on that, and then the tension of the spring is determined by how much you put into, how much you tighten this down. And then the locking ring goes on top of that to lock it into position of wherever you did it. Now, I don't know, is this bad? I have no idea how to determine if this is bad or not. Obviously, first of all, this is all not ferrous metal, so it's aluminum or something else. But obviously there's something in here set on top of this. So is this a wearable item and it wears down? And so this could be not thick enough to push down? I don't know. But when I tighten this up in here, the tighter I get it, it's just the steering itself gets tighter to move. The slop in the steering doesn't go anywhere. And I've confirmed that from the steering wheel all the way into the back of the steering rack, the entire shaft is tight. So the slop is between where it attaches to the rack, between where the shaft attaches to the rack and the rack itself, somewhere inside of here. So that's where I'm at now. I'm gonna be looking into different options to see what I can do to figure this one out as well. All right, so I just set that rack and pinion adjuster into its proper position, torqued it down to 22 foot-pounds, and then brought it back 1/5 of a turn. So that's properly set. And the wheel still has a slop. So I don't know what this slop is. So I'm gonna keep looking. All right, another, unfortunately, Lexus LS430 update. So recently, I've got probably 2,000-3,000 miles on this car, but recently I started getting the P1439 error code, which says left bank VVT solenoid. So I took the left bank solenoid out, which is that right there, cleaned it all up, it looked fine, and then actually bench tested it, put 12 volts DC to it, and it worked just fine. Okay, so then I still got the code. So I went onto Amazon and I actually found they had one of those used return things. So both of them, the left one and the right one, both of them for 20 bucks. I'm like, I can't lose on this one. So I put it in. I want you to know, of course, always, the code pops right back up again. So now I'm trying to troubleshoot it. So if we look in here, here is the mark for top dead center on the actual sprocket, and then here's top dead center on the mark here. This one's a little tougher to see, but same, top dead center on the actual housing, and then top dead center on the gear down there. As well, top dead center down here on the main crank and on the mark. So when I did the timing belt, I did it right. That to me is in time. So I've also looked at the wires, and the wires look fine. There's a little bit of chafing, but they're both intact and they're not touching anything. So I'm thinking timing wise, it's fine. Electrical wise is fine. But what about actual oil? So oil in the passage, is the oil passage blocked? Now, when I pulled the camshafts out and replaced the camshaft seal, took this entire front bearing cap off, there was a filter in there. It's a standard little conical plastic filter, screen mesh filter. And so I cleaned it and put it back in. So it, in 1,000 miles, it can't be clogged again. So I'm kind of stuck. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this and also turn off the, pull the fuse for the fuel pump. And so I can crank it without any fuel coming in, therefore it's not going to start. But it will build up oil pressure. And so I'll have somebody crank. Well, I have a rag down here to catch all the oil spitting out. Maybe it's clogged. Maybe it is clogged. I don't know. But hopefully if I did that, it'll spit out anything that's clogged. If that doesn't work, I'm thinking about doing an engine flush and run some solvent through the engine and then change the oil, and maybe that'll get it out. If that doesn't work, then I'm gonna pull this cap, this bearing cap out. Maybe I'll even do that. I might just do that now. I don't know. Hey, fun. Oh wait, you gotta take the whole valve cover off. No, I'm not gonna do that. All right, report back. Well, I guess that means there's oil. What a mess. All right, so I got everything back together again. And I hit the starter just real quick. Of course, even with the fuel pump relay removed, the engine still started, so well, I got some oil to clean up. But at least it tells me there's oil going through there, so I guess if it doesn't work now, the next step is going to be electrical. So we'll see if we can fix it that way without making such a big mess. All right, next update on the Lexus. So I was troubleshooting the P1349 code last time. And so I redid the wiring. The wiring seemed a little chafed, so I redid the wiring. I blew out the oil. And there's proof. So I blew the oil out of the line, out of the VVT solenoid. I took the VVT solenoid out and start up the car for a split second just to blow out any kind of oil that might possibly be blocking that. I don't know. And so then I put everything back together. And it seems to be running very nice. I'm not throwing any codes yet, but I haven't driven it yet, so I just started a couple times. Unfortunately, it starts squeaking. The engine, something started squeaking, and it looks like it's the brand new Denso, remanufactured Denso alternator. So yay, I get to rip that all back out again and redo that. So I ordered a new one. That'll be here in a couple days, so I have to wait for that. In the meantime, I thought I would tear apart the driver's side window switches. So I completely tore it all apart, all the pieces off. And then I used some compound and some perfecting cream and cleaned it really good with this CarPro eraser. And then did the ceramic coat on all of this. So now this is all nice and ceramic coated. And you can see how shiny it is and how pretty it is. And the reason I did that is because it was looking so bad in comparison to the other wood piece. So this piece here, I already did it on that. And that's nice and shiny and pretty. And I didn't do it on the window, so I wanted to make that match. And then likewise, if you see how nice and shiny and pretty it is, let's see how kind of dull that one is. I haven't done that one yet. So old and nasty, new and shiny. Old and nasty, new and shiny. So that will be next on the list. And also, just to continue, I've already done all this, so that's all new shiny. Up there is new shiny. But you can see the other door handle window switch, how it's kind of old and faded and whatnot. See, new and shiny, old and dull. So that'll be on my list to do next. And then, because I've started something I can't finish, I'll have to do the, well, I think I already did the back ones, the passenger. So, yes, I'm bored. But I like this car and I want to shine it up. And then also the steering wheel is going to be next to sand it down and get rid of all those cracks. I've got everything for it, I just haven't had a chance to do it yet. So that's where I'm at right now. All right, back with the Lexus again. The engine's warming up a little bit, so it's hard to hear that squeak, squeak, squeak. But it's much more pronounced when the engine is cold. And so I believe that's the new alternator, so I'm going to replace the alternator, go back with the old one, and see if that noise continues. As the engine warms up, the squeak goes away, but it's really bad when it's cold, so I'm going to take care of that, switch that back, and if it is that, then the squeak should go away. If it's not, then it's something else, so we'll go with that. And in the meantime, after doing everything with the solenoid for the VVT, I'm still getting the failure code. So I'm going to try to back probe it on both sides and see what kind of information I'm getting, what kind of voltage, if it's a voltage problem or if it's something else. And curiously, I also got a whole slew of other codes this last time, which was very abnormal. I don't know why. And all was relating to the ABS. And so I came down here to the ABS and the connector, and I moved the white piece to hold that locks it in, and everything's shattered. I've got that in there pretty tight. I don't think it's going anywhere. But now the entire cover is shattered. So next time a LS430 is in the junkyard, I'll see if I can find another one of those as well. So, but here, now listen to the engine. Absolutely quiet. So the bearing in either the alternator or whatever else it is has had time to cool down or warm up, so it stops squeaking. So regardless, it's still not acceptable, especially paying that kind of money for a rebuilt alternator. So like I said in the previous video, it's coming on Saturday, so I'll just swap it with the old one right now and see what happens. All right, now I'm back probing the sensors. So this is the bank 1, the left side, the driver's side bank. At idle, it's showing 5.9 volts. At 2,000, 5.9. At 3,000, it starts dropping. So at about 4,800, 4,500 RPM, it dropped down to 2.8. Now I'll back probe. Correction, this was the right bank, bank 2, the passenger side bank. So now I'll back probe the other side and see what that says. All right, left bank, the driver's side bank. Getting ready to start it up. Okay, hardly anything. Polarity is reversed, plugged them in the wrong way, but whatever. 6.7 volts, that's approximately right compared to the other one. Bring it up to 2,000. Still looking good. 3,000, things are starting to change. Okay, to me that looks the same readings as on bank 2. I'll review both videos and double check, but as far as I'm concerned, the electronics, the electrical to both OCV valves is good. I have to believe both OCV valves are good because the number 1, the left side, was showing bad. and then I replaced it with a brand new one, and they're still showing bad. There is a possibility that the second one is the brand new one is bad, but I don't think so. So it must be in the oiling system of the number one valve, that cap, the actual changing the timing back and forth, the physical movement using oil pressure. There must be something wrong with that. So that's what I'm left with. So I will start digging into that. All right, back with the Lexus for the VVT issue again. So one of the people that I was talking to on Club Lexus made the suggestion that I check the VVT sensor. Okay, so now we have the VVT here, inside of here. Then we have the solenoid here. But then we have the sensor. This VVT sensor senses the camshaft position, which is down here. So I'm trying to pull this off, but hopefully I found possibly something. I don't know if you can see that, but there is, see the wires? Wires sticking out. So I'm going to have to pull this tape off, and obviously you can see one big wire here, and then the two wires here. So what's going on in there? So that might be a smoking gun. Get back to you in a second. Well, I was hoping for that, but it was not that. This piece here, this here, it looks like it's a shield. It's a shielded wire bundle. This is just, this one cover here is where the shielding stops. It runs out here. It's the exact same thing on the other side. Although I'm sure completely unrelated. I thought this was interesting. This EGR whatever stuff, so the solenoid here. If you look inside here, there is, I know it's hard, tons of, look at that, all this broken stuff in here, which is probably making this not sit properly. And so then when I go to the actual connector, which now I've lost, there it is. Yeah, it's broken. Interesting. But yeah, it's just disintegrating. Look at all the pieces now. That's a list. All right. I just thought that was interesting. I don't think it's related, but it is interesting that, you know, you start working on one thing and 1,000 other things come up. Well, I don't know if this VVT sensor is bad or not. We haven't gotten that far yet, but these are the wires. That's where it used to, the connector used to sit. That white part is part of the connector, which is right here. So the wire is pulled out, the connector broke here, and it's crumbling all inside here. Is this a problem? Yes. Is it the problem? I don't know. So I gotta fish all that white stuff out. I doubt seriously the few extra connectors I have matches this one, but I'll try. And I'll put it back together and see how this works, see if this solves it. All right, so what I've done now is for the VVT sensor, which is that guy right there, I need to order a new plug. But what I did was I pulled all the junk out, and then both of those wires are just sitting in there connected to the actual wiring. It's not fixed, but it does work. Likewise, I did have an extra connector to replace this one, so that is done. So if this is a VVT sensor connection issue there, that should fix it. Otherwise, back to the drawing board. But I got the car back together again, and we'll see what happens next time I drive it. And also to add, I did check the resistance of that, and I came up with 1.1 kilo ohms, or 1,100 kilo ohms. And it's calling for, it's pretty cold, between 835 and 1400, and I had 1,100. So it checks. So that does check for a cold resistance of the VVT sensor. All right, more updates on this. So I'm doing the testing on the VVT solenoid. So the test is to push 12 volts into the solenoid and see if the car bogs down and starts running on crap. So this is the number 2 right-hand side. So turn it on. Okay, runs like crap. Alright, so now I'm going to shut it off, and by the way, the scoop is still there. So I'm going to turn it off now, and then I'm going to test the other side. Alright, now here is the culprit to the left side. It's the P1349 code. So I think it's this, the VVT actually in here. So when I energize this, it should bog down like the other side. If it's not bogged down, then it is something internal over here, and I got to tear all this apart. So here we go again. See? Now if you look real close, you can see there's a spark. You can't hear it engaging because the engine is making too much noise, but there is a spark, which signifies that current is flowing. So that valve, that solenoid, is not, it is engaging, but it is not making any difference. So again, with the engine off, you can hear it clicking now. So it's clicking. The solenoid is doing what it's supposed to do. So regardless of what electricity is going in here or anything else, it's something internal to here. Now, previous video I showed you that I checked the timing. The timing is on. And even if the timing is off, it would retard the timing or advance the timing as necessary. But it's not doing anything. So I believe hydraulically inside here, there's a blockage. Now there is a spring inside the VVT. Maybe the spring broke, I don't know. But something internal to that actual VVT area here. Not the VVT cam sensor over here that we just replaced, that stuff. Not the VVT solenoid, the OCV here. It's in here. We've verified that there's electricity going to it. We've verified the timing's on. We've verified everything. The only that's left is what's internal. So that means the valve cover has to come off. The timing cover has to come off. Both timing covers have to come off. The entire timing belt has to come off. Then I can gain access to that area to even pull this off. So stand by. All right, after looking at this for a little while, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this video up with just an overview of what this is. And I'm going to make a whole separate video of tearing apart all this stuff in here. So again, to recap, VVT not working on the left bank. Internal to there, nothing external. So I'm going to tear all that apart and redo it while I'm in there. My brand new front crankshaft seal, brand new, is leaking. So I'll replace that as well. And the alternator is squeaking, or it's the idler pulley. Either way, I've got them both coming. So I'll take care of that. And hopefully I can get this car up and running. So it's not having the check engine light and all that stuff going on. So, and something else completely unrelated. This box here the connector was destroyed as per the last video. So I put a new connector on it. It chatters really, really loud. If anybody's ever seen that before, if that's normal, let me know. Otherwise, I don't know what to do about that either. All right, this finishes this entire video series on this section, and I'll start up a whole new video of tearing this all apart for a third time. Until then.